Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's session. My name is Anka. I'm a social media strategist here at SocialBee, and typically I do these types of webinars alone, but not today. Today, I'm inviting on camera, on stage here with me, Edie Clark, a SocialBee advocate, to walk us through a little bit of how she uses SocialBee. Hi, Edie. How are you? You're on mute.
I keep forgetting that. Hi, Anka. It's good to be
How are you doing? How's
I'm
the day
doing
going so
well.
far?
So far, it's a beautiful day here in New York, so I'm happy.
That's perfect. So it's evening time where I am in Romania. So I'm almost ready to go to bed. But before we do that, I'm really, really curious to see how you are going to use SocialBee and what you're going to talk about in today's session. Before we do that, however, I do want to remind everyone that our session is recorded. So everyone will be getting a recording after this gets processed. There is a Q&A section at the end. So if you have any questions, you can add them into the Q&A box, which is probably located somewhere below. And also, let me also introduce my colleague Andrea, who will be here in the chat with us, providing you with additional info, any links that are necessary, and just keeping everything fun. So if you're joining us live, let us know in the chat if you're already using SocialBee or if you're not using it yet, so that we know a little bit more about you as well. And that's it from me. I'm going to pass over the microphone over to Edie, sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. Hi, everyone. I'm actually trying to multitask, which is something that I suck at. But somebody just sent me an email for the link, so I'm trying to send them a quick email right now. So bear with me 2 seconds. I just sent it. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you all. Thank you all for being here. Let me get my screen share up so that we can, this is what happens when in the middle of things you are asked to do
It's always
something.
something.
Never fails. Absolutely never fails.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's
But
put,
Edie, you were mentioning earlier that you have been using SocialBee since 2019. So you've seen quite a bit of evolution since then.
yes, I have most definitely. I came upon using SocialBee in 2019 because I was searching for an option to stay present in the minds of my audience because social media, I shouldn't say social media in general confused the heck out of me. I really did not know what to do or how to go about doing it.
Mm.
And in fact, one of the questions that I'm going to be asking is, do you, as the attendees, struggle with staying top of mind with your audience?
Ooh, great question. I'm
Um,
really curious to see the answers to that.
Hopefully you can see my
Yep.
screen. Okay,
We can
great.
see it.
So if you do struggle with staying top of mind with your audience, please put a yes in the chat. I would love to hear that because I want to know that I'm not the only one.
I'm sure that.
I
Yes, we
suffered.
have a first yes.
Excellent,
Second,
excellent.
third. There we go.
Yay,
Or
yay, okay, good. So I don't feel bad
Mhm.
because I just really, I don't know, I just didn't know what to do. I was following what all the gurus were telling me that I needed to do, but at the same time, it didn't seem to work for me. And I was looking at all of these other people that were really, hold on a second. Oh, oops. That is not what I wanted to open up with. I was looking at all of these other gurus and I'm like, they seem to be everywhere. They're on all of these different platforms. They're putting out content that is really amazing. And here I was, I couldn't figure out the first thing to write. I just had absolutely no idea what it was that I wanted to do. And I realized for a good chunk of those people, they had a huge audience, or not even a huge audience, they had a huge team that was behind them, that was helping them create the content. And I didn't have that. So I did go to the extreme of hiring a VA way back. And it was back when just posting in general was sort of the thing to do. And so they were posting quotes and, if today was ice cream day or something like that. And I just didn't feel that that was what I should be doing, but I really was absolutely clueless as to what I needed to do. And that's when, um, let's go here. Oops. That's when SocialBee came on the radar for me. So with SocialBee, it eliminated me needing to multitask, which I shared earlier. I don't do well at. And it alleviated the stress that I was having when it came to trying to figure out what I wanted to create and how I was going to share that content online. And most importantly, the other thing that I wanted to make sure, ooh, what is this doing? Oh, that's a new look that I had not seen before. Interesting. Sorry about that. This is, I'm not sure why this is looking this way, but at any rate, you can see the bulk of the screen.
I think press on the X on the
Yeah,
right.
I did, and it's not going away. So
Oh,
the only other thing I
or,
can
or
think
scroll
of,
up a little bit.
I'm gonna see if I can refresh and see if that'll do it. Okay, that's what I needed to do. Okay, so let's go to where I am. Yeah.
There we go.
So
Hmm.
my thing was video marketing and video creation. So I was comfortable, even though it took me a while to be comfortable in front of the camera. My experience was helping people from behind the camera. But I was creating content, but I wasn't sharing it anywhere because I didn't really know how to go about sharing that content. And social media in general just had me confused, not only in terms of what I needed to create, but where I needed to share that content. And there were so many platforms that were out there, whether it was Pinterest, Instagram, I mean, you name it. And it was like, what do I put on those platforms? How do I go about doing it? So it just left me stressed, overwhelmed, and clueless at the end of the day. And a lot of the platforms that I did use to help me be present weren't really helping me figure out what to create. It was just a vehicle that would get the content out there, but it wasn't really doing anything to help me figure out exactly what it was that I needed to do. And then came along SocialBee. And so I went from barely posting, maybe on average posting once or twice a week, to having a calendar that was filled with content that I could, oh, it's back again. Ugh, I don't understand why this is looking this way. Sorry, didn't do this in my rehearsals, I swear to God. Let me escape and then refresh again. And so it got me to the point where I was then able to create oh, as soon as yeah, anyway, sorry about that. I don't know why that is doing that. That's that. Oh, okay. All right, there you go. So it got me to a point where I now was able to have a lot more content that I was creating on a consistent basis. I was having a presence online where I was having multiple posts per day. And it was content that my ideal audience could learn and know or understand what I was talking about. I was able to share my knowledge and expertise with my ideal audience. I wasn't just posting for the sake of posting. I wasn't posting image posts of random things or quotes that may or may not mean anything to me. It was actual content that I was able to create that I knew that my audience would want to learn from. So that was really meaningful to me because I knew that that meant I was going in the right direction. And I'm by no stretch of the imagination and expert. That's why I wanted to do this workshop. I love SocialBee. I've been using it, like I said, since 2019, and I still want to learn, are there better ways for me to be able to use the platform and to create content? Because I'm not even using all of the friggin' features that SocialBee has. So I want to know all of the different additional ways that I can use it so that I can just get better at what I'm doing.
I mean, in your defense, there's a lot of features.
Yeah, there are. So what's ahead is that I want to share with you how I use or why I'm using SocialBee, how I use it, when I use it, and then I have a free guide at the end that I want to share with you that walks you through my step-by-step process of how I create my posts. So the first step is why I use it. Anyone that follows me knows that I love things that are simple to use and easy to learn. SocialBee hit that 100%. It also is a major time saver because as a solopreneur, and I don't know how many of you are on here that are solopreneurs, and if you are a solopreneur, please post in the chat one if you're a solopreneur and you don't have a team behind you that's handling all of this stuff for you. As a solopreneur, I knew I needed to use social media. I also knew I needed to carve out time in order to use social media. And I didn't have the time to sit down and craft out all of the different posts, which for me as a non-writer, it was hard for me to do that and then have to then create the imagery that I would want to go along with it, or knew that there was a video that I wanted to go along with it. And then I would have to then schedule that. That just was a lot for me to do. So I needed a tool that would save me a tremendous amount of time, one that would eliminate the guesswork out of trying to figure out what I needed to do. And what I loved about SocialBee that Anka already sort of gave way to is the fact that they're constantly updating and adding in new features. And they've even added in a new social media platform that I had never heard of until I happened to be on here. And I'm like, what the heck is Sky Blue? And so I was like, okay, let me open up an account. And since it's already integrated with SocialBee, I'll start posting to it just to see. It's a new social media platform. So if any of you have heard of Sky Blue, let me know in the chat if you've heard of Sky Blue, because
Actually, blue
that was
sky.
new. Blue Sky, sorry, Blue Sky. Um, so if you've heard of Blue Sky, definitely let me know in the chat, because I had never heard of it until I saw that it was a new update by SocialBee. So when do I use it? One of the things that was really challenging was figuring out what kind of content I needed to use and when I needed to use it. So I went through a number of different coaching programs. I've dealt with and spoken to social media experts and gotten some guidance in terms of what kinds of content I needed to create. Because remember, before this, it was, you know, posting quotes, posting still images, and just having random things. It wasn't really, and obviously sharing my videos from YouTube, but it wasn't really a content strategy that I would say was beneficial for my social media. So having a tool that could help me identify those things was really important. Also, when it came to creating captions, that was also something that was really hard for me. It was something that when it came to writing, I just wasn't the most verbal person when it comes to creating writing. But if you could get me started, then I could kind of use what you said and then sort of enhance it a little bit. And AI definitely lends itself to that. Next, I needed to be able to add in images that didn't require me to go to a separate platform somewhere else, create the imagery, and then import it into the social media platform. For those of you who date back in business as long as I have, a lot of times what you had to do is you went into whatever it was, Canva, PicMonkey, whoever it was, you created your imagery, you then had your Excel file that had all of your text that you wanted to add, and then you manually uploaded or imported all of this into your social media marketing platform. And then that's how you kind of sorted things out. The way that SocialBee works, you don't need to do that anymore. You can actually create off the cuff, just in the moment, content that will allow you to then add in the visuals at the same time from within the platform. Then this was a feature that I didn't know existed anywhere, where I was able to effortlessly share my YouTube videos once they were published from YouTube directly to my social media platforms using the RSS feed. And so once I discovered this, I was like, oh my God, this is a no-brainer way for me to share my videos directly to my audience. Now, I know some of you may be saying, well, is it a good idea to share your entire video on social media platforms? I do it more for the visibility of it than the assumption that someone is going to click on it and watch the entire video. So if it's something that I want them to hear and know, then I'll manually upload that video onto SocialBee. But this is an automatic thing. I don't have to think about it. The only thing is that I just make sure that I put some sort of caption on it before I actually send it off to social media. So how do I go about doing this? I mentioned about the content categories, and this was definitely something that I needed a lot of help on. And so when I discovered this capability within SocialBee, it totally was a game changer for me. And this was when SocialBee came out. Correct me, Anka, was it last year, year before that the Copilot came out?
I think it was last year.
Yeah, I think it was last year too.
Yeah.
Absolute game changer for me. What Copilot did, and I'm going to have Anka go through this later on so that you can see step by step all of the different things that you need to do. But it asks you a bunch of questions so that it can understand, are you a business? Are you an individual person? What is it that you do? Who's your target audience? What is it that you're talking about? What's your tagline? It gets all of this information from you so that it can properly assess what kind of content categories make sense for your business. Now, by the time the Copilot came out, I had already come up with some content categories. Some of them were pretty decent, some of them were lame, but at least I was able to go through this, and it then identified additional content categories that I hadn't even had thought of. And so what's on the screen right now are 3 different ones that are currently being added, but there's actually, I think, 2 more that were higher up on the screen, but I just wanted to share that this, I'm seasoned. I've been using this platform for a while, and there was still additional content categories. And what I liked about this was it made me think outside the box. Now, success stories technically can be classified as testimonials. And so I had that category already, but I prefer the name success stories. And that makes me think about how I'm going to present my testimonials differently as success stories, as opposed to here's this bland thing that this person said about me. Another one, which I hadn't thought of, was top tips from experts. Now, some people might think of, oh, well, that's just basically sharing somebody else's blog. So you're just curating the RSS feed and just putting that out on your content. Yes, you can do that by all means. But the way I thought about this was a way for me to take content in my niche by someone that's well more advanced than me, and then adding my own take on it or adding my own commentary on what they have to say as well. So that's something that I wouldn't have ordinarily thought of on my own. Video creation tips was a way for me to utilize the content that I'm already creating for social media, for my YouTube channel, and then repurposing that. So taking clips from whether it's my live streams or whether it's pre-recorded videos, and then adding that in its own category of tips that I would talk about with regards to whether it's SocialBee or maybe it might be some other platform that I was using. So this just allowed me to have more ideas that I wouldn't have ordinarily thought of on my own. So that's what the brainchild of having these content categories have been for me. Now, another way that I use it is through the AI captions generator. This was absolutely mind-blowing when I first encountered it, because again, as I mentioned, I would always have like be at a loss for what am I going to caption this particular video or this particular image with. And so it allowed me to either take it as is or at least finesse it. It got me started on what I needed to write, because I would absolutely be completely at a loss as to what I would want to talk about. So the way that you find that is when you go on to create your post, you're going to see that there is an AI. It's actually not going to be positioned this way. My screen happened to be truncated. It's going to be off to the right. And so you just click on the AI, and then you have the ability to generate captions. I'll let Anka talk about generating images if she chooses later on. And then from here, what you're then going to be able to do is the AI post generator opens up. So this is, if any of you have used AI and you know that or heard that your output is as good as your input, meaning the prompt that you're using, SocialBee saves you a lot of brain cells by giving you templates of prompts for a variety of different types of scenarios. This is only a portion of, again, I think I told this to Anka, I have not gone through all of these yet. And so it's been a while since they've had this capability, and I've not gone through all of them.
I think there's hundreds now.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot.
Yep.
And so, and then when you go into each one of these, there's a ton within them where you can get a template that literally it's like fill in the blank. And all you need to do is, tweak some things here and there, and then you're able to create a prompt that makes sense. So for this one, I was using, and you can't see it, I clicked this one here. It was for promotionals. So here are just a fraction of the different types of prompt templates that have come up. So I selected the first one, which was write a social media post promoting a type of event and the date of the event. So I used today's event as an example. And so in here, it automatically populates, and then in the brackets, you fill in your information. The more detailed information you give it, the better the output's going to be. But I just wanted to be simple, so I just stated that it was for a live workshop on SocialBee, and it was happening today at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. I then was able to choose the tone of voice. Do I want to be enthusiastic? Do I want to be polite? Do I want to be witty? Do I want to be casual? Whatever your type of tone that you want the overall tone of your post to be is what you can then choose. Then you can select how many words do you want your post to have. So do you want it to be super wordy, or do you want it to be fairly simple? It defaults at 35, but how high does it go, Anka? Because I've never even tried it.
I think it goes up to 1,000 or 2,000. Let me
Yeah.
check quick.
So you can be as detailed as you want to. You can say whether or not you want it to generate hashtags or have emojis in it. And then all you have to do at that point is click generate. When you do that, depending on the number of results that you asked, it defaults at 3. It will then give you 3 choices that you can either pick 1 or 2, or you can select all of them, however many that you have as your output. I always use these nowadays as a guide. So I would select the one that I think, okay, yeah, I kind of like the wording on that one best. Select that. And then when it comes back over into my post, I'll then tweak it to make it sound a little bit more like me. Usually it's the first sentence that is the one that sort of sounds the most AI-ish. And so I'll make that change there, and then I will schedule my posts. So this will take me a minute, maybe a couple of minutes to do. And that saves me a tremendous amount of time because before, just to do a post would take me forever because I didn't know what I wanted to say or how I was going to go about saying it. This is the other game changer that I loved. Anybody that has a Canva account and is familiar with Jiffy or Giphy, however you want to pronounce it, this is definitely a game changer. Like I mentioned before, the old school way was to spend however many hours on Canva or whatever the platform was creating your imagery. So if I just want to off the cuff create a social media post, I just decided, okay, today I want to promote, whatever it is. And I have not had this image done yet. Then all I need to do is go into SocialBee, come up with the caption, and then I can also come up with the imagery. So the way that you do that is in the same area, and I hope you can see the screen down below. You then check, there's three icons that are next to the add a photo or video. And you just click on the first one if you want to do a Canva. You have to have a Canva account, just connect it. And once you click on it, it opens up Canva. And what I've chosen to do is I've created brand templates within Canva so that I know exactly, visually speaking, what I want my posts to have. And I have a plethora of them in here. This is just 4 of like, I don't even know how many I have in here. So if I am going to do a certain type of post, like if this one is for my my digital course. So if I know I want to do a promote something regarding my digital course, then I'll pick that one and then just tweak it, change the text, change the imagery, whatever it is that I need to tweak on it, and I'm good to go. And then when you're finished, it immediately embeds into your post on SocialBee. Same with Giphies or Jiffies. All you need to do is go to the search bar, type in whatever it is that you're looking for. If you want it to say, Happy New Year, or you wanted to, it's a thank you that you're doing to your audience, you just type that in, select the image, the GIF that you want to use, and just click it, and immediately it's in there. And then you just add your captions to it, and you're good to go. So you're not going outside of SocialBee or outside of your social media management tool, finding the image somewhere, downloading that onto your computer or getting a link or what have you, and then coming into your social media management tool to create the post.
Just as a little note on the Jiffy integration is that you should be mindful of the platform you're trying to use it on. Because for instance, Instagram doesn't work with GIFs or GIFs. So basically, you would not be able to use this on Instagram because of Instagram's limitations, but you would be able to use it on Facebook or LinkedIn or things like that.
Excellent point. See, I didn't know that. I don't use Instagram, so I didn't know that. Then this was the other no-brainer one that came up for me where I was like, I'm definitely using this. And that was being able to use SocialBee to import all of my live and updated and published videos on YouTube onto my various social media platforms. So the way that I did that is I got my RSS feed from YouTube, which is actually, it's not even an RSS feed. It's literally, the URL is youtube.com/feeds/videos.xml ? And then you add in your channel ID, you say channel ID.
You don't even have to do that. You just need to add the link of your YouTube and SocialBee finds the RSS.
It does it all? Oh, see?
And it also works with websites as well. So if you want to add your blog like that, you just add the URL. SocialBee takes care of the rest.
Yeah. So so when you say the link, you mean your YouTube?
The URL of your YouTube channel.
Oh, that is okay. That I didn't know that because I don't know how long I've been doing this, but I didn't know that.
Yeah, in the past, you needed to do that manually, which is
okay.
why you were remembering this.
Yeah.
But I think probably 2 or 3 years ago is when we automated the process and
Oh,
a way for
so
SocialBee to
good.
find that
Oh,
for you. So it's simplifies it even more.
So it's even easier,
Mm-hmm.
even easier. So I put in your URL, and when you click on fetch, it's going to then go through your YouTube, connect to your YouTube channel, and then fetch all of the recent videos. Now, how far back, when you're doing a fetch, how far back is it going? Because it's been a while.
Typically, it's looking for the latest 10 posts.
10, that's right.
Yeah.
So once you have that, then you can automatically schedule them. Or what I do, I have this highlighted over here, is I have mine come in as a draft, because
Mm.
then at a later date, I'll go in and create the caption for it, and then I approve it, and then it goes out. And again, my philosophy with this is that I do not expect people to click on it and look at it, but I want them to see that I've released a new video and what that video is about. So they're seeing the thumbnail and they're seeing my caption, so that it's more for exposure than for clicks, if that makes sense.
Brand awareness, basically.
Yeah, brand awareness. So typically, and this is also another thing, Facebook doesn't do this. I can't speak for Instagram because I don't post on it, but this is Blue Sky. And I like that it does not show that it's coming from SocialBee. So this is what an image post was that I did for Blue Sky. And then this is a video post that I did on LinkedIn. And again, it does not show that it's coming from SocialBee, but you can bet if it's on Facebook, it'll say.
Actually.
Oh,
So
more news.
the only moment when you see it is when you are an admin of that page. So you, as an admin of the Facebook page, will be able to see that this post was published via SocialBee, just so that you know where the post comes from, especially since you didn't manually type it out on Facebook. So it's kind of like an identifier. But the general audience, someone who's just liked your page, will not be able to see that it comes from.
Oh, good. Excellent. Even better. So that's perfect. So if you haven't figured it out, I love SocialBee. And I love it because I think it's a no-brainer tool for solopreneurs. If you are doing this on your own, then this is a great tool for you to use. Frankly, I think even if you have a VA, that a VA can use this effortlessly. I've just finally gotten to a point where I'm hiring my first VA. And one of the things that they're going to be taking over is doing my social media. But I just truly love this because it is such a user-friendly tool. There's so many new things. I mean, you could see just based on this short presentation, some of the things that I knew about that's now more improved since I've been using it. And they're constantly tweaking and improving and really allowing you, the user, to be able to use it in a way that it saves you a tremendous amount of time. One of the things that I did not talk about, which I hope Anka will be able to showcase, is that you can now engage with your audience using SocialBee. You don't have to go to the platform to see if anybody has responded or commented on any of your posts. You can actually stay within or just check within SocialBee and be able to see whether anybody has commented on your content or not. That's still something that is not a natural thing for me to do because I'm not used to it, but that is something that definitely is a game changer, I think, also within SocialBee. So I just wanted to share that with you, and then also let you know I'm going to put this in the chat as soon as I get my screen situated. But I have a SocialBee guide that I wanted to offer to you all that just walks you through how I upload. It literally goes more step by step. I didn't really go through an example in today because I really wanted to turn this over to Anka because I'm a student just like you guys are. I want to learn as much as I can in terms of what are all the additional things that SocialBee can do to make you be more top of mind in the minds of your audience. And so with that, I'm going to grab this put it over there, and then turn it over to Anka.
I'm just curious to learn how that guide will change with the future features
Ooh,
coming because
it will. It will.
will. I'm sure it will. So that was actually very, very well done. I think you have a lot of it nailed down to perfection, which is great because it does my job a lot easier. So thank you so much for
You're
doing that.
welcome.
I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and walk you through a little bit of the platform. I'm not going to go into too much detail because, as I said in the beginning, it's so feature heavy. It takes an hour to go through with the main features. And you can see that in
Yeah.
our general demo webinars. We do those every month. Andrea will probably add a link to our latest demo webinar, which is a recorded session we did last week. So that's really new, fresh. We also have one next month and the month after that, and so on and so forth. So I go into a lot of detail there. But before I go into detail, if you're already in SocialBee, if you're already using it, maybe in trial, or you're just considering it, you can always get started with a free trial account. There's no credit card required. It's a 14-day free trial, so it gives you 2 weeks to actually play around with it without any pressure, without any risk involved at all. You can connect your profiles, you can post, you can create your schedule, work with the AI tools, work with the Engage, work with everything that I'm going to show you. And if at the end of those 2 weeks you decide to go ahead with a subscription, there's a little surprise thanks to Edie joining us here today. You can use the code Edie30 times 3 for 3 months of 30% off if you're going on a monthly plan, or Edie 30 times 12 for an additional 14% off on the yearly plans, which already are discounted a 16% in total. So in essence, you get 2 months for free with the yearly plan and a 14% discount on top. So that's really cool. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you guys here in a second. I already see someone asking what's the cost, and that's the first thing that I'm going to show you guys. So can you see my screen? You should be able to. Yes. There we go. Perfect. So what you're currently seeing is SocialBee's dashboard. This is basically what you see every time you log into your SocialBee account once you've set it all up. So you can connect your profiles here. You can see what profiles you have already connected. I only have our sister brand, SocialBee, which does the work for you in case you need it. And then to find out more about pricing, you need to go into the top right corner under the name menu, where you can see the tab called Pricing, which is going to give you an overview of the main platform plans that we have: Bootstrap, Accelerate, and Pro. Typically for solopreneurs, I recommend Bootstrap. It's the lowest tier. It has all the features that you need, and the amount of profiles that typically solopreneurs or people just starting with social media have a need for. And it's only $29 per month. And that's before the discount that I mentioned. If you have a need for higher tiers, there's also agency tiers that you might want to look at, that I'm not going to go into too much detail now because we're talking about solopreneurs. So I'm focusing on the lower tiers now. And by the way, if you're hiring a VA and you don't want to share credentials because that involves a lot of trust, you can just add an extra user or an extra workspace if you have multiple businesses that you're taking care of, or extra profiles if you feel like the profiles are not enough, just as a monthly add-on to your existing plan. So that's also something that you can do within SocialBee. So when you're deciding on your plan, you just add it to your cart like so, and then you go to the cart and check out. This might take a little while because my internet is going rogue, but basically this will open up the payment module. We're using FastSpring for payments right now, and you'll be able to, there we go, you'll be able to enter any tax ID that you might need in case you have tax exemption. And this is for the US, it's for any other part of the world. So I'm in Europe, which means I have a VAT ID. Some people in Australia might have an ABN, people around the world might have a GST, and so on. So you add your information here. You also add the code. I think it's like so. And then you hit apply. And the code will be, oop, I did not add the right code. Okay, so never mind. You will have the right code there, and you will be able to add it properly at checkout, and that will be including the discount on your end there. So this was an extra account that I actually had just to show you the payment plan and everything. This is the actual SocialBee account that we have. And you're going to see me talk about 4 different sections in SocialBee. So there's the content section. The content section is split in 2 folders or 2 menu items, the content itself and the Copilot, which Edie already talked about. Now, the cool thing about the Copilot, and I'll show it briefly because I already have it set up, is that it asks you questions. Basically, the more detailed the answer, the better it gets. It then moves on to having you select the profiles you want to work with, and you can also connect new profiles here if you need to. It then moves on to suggest the categories, just as Edie mentioned. And these are categories that are usually focused around content pillars, so types of content that you can use in your strategy. So basically, it's helping you build your strategy on social media, which is super helpful. Moving on, you'll get a customized posting plan based on best practices along with your individual analytics. So it actually looks at when your audience is online, and it helps use those times when your audience is there to see it, so that you can publish your post then. And then it goes even further and it starts generating content for those categories. Typically, well, it's still in beta testing, so it might happen here and there somehow. But typically, what I use this for is for ideation. I'm going to go ahead and drop that now because it's in beta testing, as I said. So I'm going to flag it to the team. They're going to take care of that. But I do have some posts that are generated with the Copilot like this, and this is what happens. So it comes up with a caption. All the posts that are generated via Copilot are set as drafts and have a little note. And that little note is a prompt that you can use to generate an image with the AI tool. Or it's just an idea to give you a visual aid of what type of visual would work with that type of content. So the way I use these in SocialBee and on our profiles is to just brainstorm ideas. I pick the ones that I like and I transform them into our own tone of voice and our own identity, moving into the AI generator and the caption tool. So this is more for the ideation process in my personal experience, but it can also be used as an end product if you wanted to do that. So all you would need to do is set it to approved, add the image, and that's that. So let's go into a little bit on the 2 systems that SocialBee has. If you're using something else and not SocialBee, you may be familiar with the queue-based system where every single post has a specific posting time attached. That's the content without the categories system in SocialBee. So if you add a post in here, it must have a date and a time to post. On the other hand, if you add a post in the categories, it doesn't need a date. Why? Because the categories can be scheduled. And the easiest way for me to explain that is to look at the weekly blog post category. If I wanted 1 blog post every week, every Wednesday, from now until the end of content, I have 45 posts in here, by the way. I can just say in the schedule setup, so right here, I can just add a posting time. Let's say I want it to Facebook. I'll just choose the weekly blog post category. Facebook at 8:45 p.m. on Wednesdays. That's when I want my blog posts to publish. So what this does is that now I have one post from that category going out every Wednesday. It's a queue of all 45 posts that I have in there, provided that they're approved and not set to draft mode, because obviously we won't publish drafts. But basically, I now have a list and I don't have to go into a calendar and look at the dates for every Wednesday for the next 45 weeks. That would be tedious and time consuming, and we don't want to do that. You can also edit the schedule. So if I wanted to change the category, I can do that. If I wanted to delete this and start fresh, I can do that as well. So it's super easy to use and super flexible. Before I go into the schedule in a little bit more depth, I just wanted to mention all the ways in which you can import content in SocialBee. Edie also mentioned the RSS feature. There's that's awesome automations and advanced tools like Zapier, Pabbly, Make that can help create an ecosystem with other tools that you might be using. If you still want to use that sheet with the video and the images and the text that Edie mentioned in the beginning, you can do that with the CSV file. So you can create your visuals, your content, add it all to a CSV file, and then just import the file into SocialBee and everything's sorted just like that. You can do the same with links. So if you have a lot of media or curated content, you can create a list of your links and import them in SocialBee. Same with media. Let's say you have 100 quotes, drag them all into the import media file, select your category, and you're good to go, just like that. There's also a way for you to save your hashtags, especially on Instagram or other platforms where hashtags are super relevant. And let's be honest, nowadays, most platforms have hashtags and it's super relevant to use them. So you can save them, have them ready to use whenever you need to. And that concludes section 1, or section content, as I like to call it. But before I go into the schedule, I also wanted to highlight the content approval tab, which will show you everything that's set to draft. So Edie, once you start working with a VA and they start creating your content and you need to approve it and review it, you can go in here and look at the content and set it to approved if it's ready, or just leave an internal note with your team. I'm going to tag Andrea here. So sorry, Andrea. This is not done yet. I'm a bad feedback giver here. Anyway, Andrea will be getting an email letting her know that I've tagged her in this. She'll probably ignore it. But otherwise, the person handling the feedback should be able to go in and edit the post according to your needs. So moving on into the second section, we have the schedule setup, which I've already shown you. So this can be generated with the Copilot. It can be generated based on a preset schedule that we have, or you can create it from scratch. And if you prefer to create it from scratch, you can delete the one that exists by clicking on the Delete All Schedules link here at the bottom right. And you have it in 2 views. Compact view, which is my personal preference because it shows everything that's scheduled and it's easy to see, and a calendar view, which is more aired out. So if you like to have a full view of your week with the 24-hour days, you can see it in here. Personally, I like the compact view better, which is why I keep it here, because below here, and I'm just going to filter for one profile instead of all. Let's go for Insta here. So when you have something filtered in the schedule statistics table, which is right here at the bottom, it actually gives you an idea of what your content mix looks like. Typically, I see most people using something like the 80-20 rule. So 80% of your content providing some sort of value, 20% of your content promoting your business. And you can look at this and figure out how much of each type of content you have that's going from each category. So now I have it quite balanced with 25% of each category that I have scheduled. If I were to add another promotional post here, product spotlight, that would change. So you can see when you're oversharing and you can make changes according to your needs. And if you want to see what's next ahead, we go into the next posts tab, which is still part of the scheduling part. So this will give you 3 views on your content per platform. Very important. This is per social platform, not across all of them, because you might have it scheduled at different times or different sequencing, or you just might have different content, or even if you don't and you just cross post the same thing over and over again, I mean, not over and over again, but to the different platforms that you have, it might feel duplicate and confusing if I were to show you all. So it's per platform. You're going to be able to see a list view, which will show you the content that you have scheduled, and placeholders for where you have categories scheduled and not content in there yet. Calendar view, again, to show you or myself that I need to create more content in here because I don't have enough content set up. So it's just going to show me where or what categories to focus my attention on to have content until the end of April. And then for Instagram specifically, ignore my face. Those are just webinar snippets that we typically share on Instagram, but you'll be able to see a grid preview of the way your content will look on Instagram, starting with the end post. So the final post that you see in this will be the next post because that's the way it would publish on Instagram. And if something fails to post for whatever reason, you can see it all here, just letting you know that maybe my internet connection wasn't right. So the ID of the media file that I uploaded didn't go through correctly. So that means I'm still going to need to look into that, upload it again, make sure that my internet connection is stable before I do that, and work with it that way. Next up, the third section is the analytics, and this is the one that I'm usually most excited about because of all the cool data that you get in here. So you get 4 tabs filled with information. I have a preset here. So last month for Instagram, this is per profile again. And you can change the preset or use a custom period of time depending on your preference, but you'll basically look at page analytics, post analytics, additional insights, and then a complete post history. So you have all the data you need in order to make sure that you succeed in social media. So you'll see page analytics like page growth, follower count, demographics. You'll be able to see engagement and when your audience is online. So that way you're able to work with everything. I'm trying to rush through it, not because I don't want to show you everything, but because I want to be mindful of everyone's time. And there's quite a lot of information that I still need to share with you guys. So yeah, post analytics will give you some more details on your posts, posting frequency, reach evolution, so that you can see if you have any spikes or lows in your reach, along with breakdowns of different types of metrics that you might want to look at. Insights will give you your top performing content at the bottom here, as well as the distribution of your content throughout the day. If I switch over to the last 3 months and you look at the purple dots, look at the purple dots. So that's my content category that's meant for engagement. So I have the most engagement filter on. And right now that category is scheduled around 11 a.m. It's telling me that in the past 3 months, most of my content has been distributed around 6 and 7 p.m. So it might be a better idea for me to look into moving that scheduled time later in the day when more people are there to see it. And then again, if I wanted to look at specific posts or bring them back into my content, I can look into the post history where I have a lot of filters. I can reuse the content just like that. And since we're in the post editor, let me also show you a few things that you can do here. So once you select multiple platforms, actually that doesn't work. Hold on. Let's start from fresh. Once you select more platforms, you'll see the previews forming on the right side of your screen, and you'll be able to add your caption manually. You'll be able to add photos, videos directly from your computer, Canva, Giphy, and Unsplash. So if you want royalty-free images, you can look at Unsplash as well. And the AI generator with both captions and images is here on the right side. So generating captions, Edie already went through it. There's tons of prompts that you can use. And if you're here for brainstorming ideas, use the random prompt selector from here, and it'll just feed you prompts for you to kind of work with it. So find one that you like and move with it. I'll just keep this one. When you're selecting, so let's generate some content here. When you're selecting the content, if you want to share it more than once, because that's another cool feature of SocialBee, you can requeue and repurpose content. You can select multiple options from the AI, or if you don't like these, you can click the generate button again and it will regenerate. But basically, you can create variations of that post. Is essentially allowing you to share the same content multiple times without it feeling repetitive, without being a duplicate. And that's very important in today's day and age. So you can rephrase the content so that it words a little different. It works a little different. You change the image, you change the point of view, you change what you highlight in that video, in that post, in that blog post, in whatever it is. And that way you get to repurpose it and reuse it multiple times. I'll just quickly remove this and show you how you can also customize it for each profile. So in case you want to add a link on the platforms where you're allowed to do that. So for instance, sharing the YouTube video like Edie mentioned, Instagram doesn't like that. So Instagram will not work with link previews, in which case you would need to fix that error that's popping up on my screen right now, letting me know that I need to add a video or a visual. So if I go ahead and I do that, let's add some flowers here. There we go. You'll also get a notification on your mobile phone if something fails to post. So this flower post that I've added is not the right aspect ratio, which means I can crop it, make it work for Instagram, just like that, make it pretty, and then get rid of the mobile icon that I had there. I'm also able to choose between different formats that I might need to add, and this works on Insta, Facebook, any other platform that has that. So you get access to platform-specific features as well when you're customizing for each profile. And you also have the option to choose the category, choose the place that you want this post to go into the queue. So top, meaning the first one to go out, or bottom, meaning the last one to go out in the category, whether you want this post to requeue or not, and expire it, because no one wants a Happy New Year post mid-July. So you can always set your content to expire to make sure that it doesn't pop up after the event, for instance. And before I go into the final section, which is the engage, just a reminder, if you have any questions, you can pop them into the Q&A section there. So the engage is the final section of SocialBee. It's the newest one as well because it has been introduced very recently, and it will allow you to create, manage, review, reply to any mentions, comments, and DMs across the different platforms that you might be using. We're currently working with Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Google My Business, and I believe YouTube as well on specific types of interactions. We're working on adding more as needed as well. So with the engage, you have the option to create boards. My personal preference was to create boards separate for each type of interaction. So I have a board with all the mentions, I have a board with all the comments, I have a board with all the DMs, which is Facebook right now. So just like that. Now, if I wanted to add streams, you'll see I can add a stream, which is basically a column, and I'll do that for LinkedIn just to show you what it looks like when adding that. So it automatically syncs in. Now, I just removed this before our webinar so that I can add it and show you how you can do that. So it doesn't have a lot to sync up to, but you can actually have it sync up if you are adding it for the first time. And so that way you can, I'll just reply to Eddie's post here. You can quickly reply to the post and send it over just like that. Yeah. Now you should get a, a notification with that failed heart, millennial heart, however you want to call it. From SocialBee. So yeah, basically you can interact with the content directly there. like the content directly from SocialBee, work with it so that you don't have to go anywhere else. And that's it from me. So again, if you're interested in SocialBee, you can open up a free trial by going to app.socialbee.com and just create an account there. And if you decide to purchase, you can use Edie's code, Edie 30 times 3 for 30% off on 3 months, or Edie 30 times 12 for an additional 14% on top of the existing offer for yearly. And now I'm open to questions.
I actually have a few I have a couple of my own and then some that were submitted to me by
Yeah,
some individuals that I knew couldn't make it.
let's.
My personal question is in reference to YouTube community posts. So
Mm-hmm.
I know that you can post videos,
Mm-hmm.
but can you or will you be able to post community posts on YouTube using SocialBee?
That's a great question. Right now we can't, so we can only publish shorts or long form videos on YouTube. I believe, I'm not sure, so I'm gonna ask the product team, but I believe this is a limitation from their API. So unless they actually provide access to that part, we won't be able to post to
Mhm.
community pages as well. But if they do, then we definitely will.
And then is that the same case with threads?
With threads as in Twitter threads or the platform?
Oh, the platform threads, sorry.
Yes. So the platform threads doesn't have a public API yet. We're waiting on it. They have announced that they're working on one. There's no ETA on when that will be launched, but when it will be, we're probably going to start working on integrating it as well.
Okay. And then this was a question that was submitted to me. And can you explain your concierge services and how that can benefit
Absolutely. So
someone?
concierge services, let me share them with you guys. These are done for you services that our team, the gorgeous people over here, outside of Jackie, who's our chief happiness officer, she's fully booked. Just warning you, she's not taking any new clients. She has enough with us. Um, but outside of that, we have a lot of awesome team members here that are ready to take your socials to the next step. So there's organic social, which is where you can get content for your social media, whether you're talking about a mix of visuals between static and video contents with the social media specialist, or video first content with the video first specialist options. There's growth options here as well, community management, LinkedIn lead generation, article writing, copywriting, guide creation. If you want to create an ebook, a guide, a lead magnet for your audience, you can have us work on it for you. There's different formats, different frequencies that you can go for. Even ads management is something that we have. So basically, we're an all-in-one digital agency that can help with the specifics that you need help with. So if you are not really ready to work with a full-time agency and you just need specific help in specific areas of your social media marketing, this is the best option to go for.
Love it. Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Yep.
I think you may have covered one of the other questions was asked, which was what features within SocialBee would help me boost engagement with my audience on social media? Are there any
So
features specific to
features
that?
that would
Yeah.
help you boost engagement.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about when you're creating the content, depending on the platform that you're choosing to work with. Typically, I find that LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram have this feature. Let me type in some gibberish here.
Mhm.
When you customize for each profile, you can add a first comment to your post. This will help generate engagement if you add a question, for instance,
Mhm.
in that first comment. So if we're talking about top 10 ways in which you can boost engagement on social media, we can add a question, which ones are you using currently? And have the people actually answer that in the comments. So prompting something. Another way, and I think this one's specific to Instagram, is to add a location to your post, which will help gain more visibility, especially if you are focusing on a specific area. So if you're a coach and you only work with London people,
Right.
let's say London, you can just select London here, or a specific location if you want them to go to a specific office, or
Okay.
and you
Right.
can just add that. And it would center your post around people who are looking at that location or living in that location. So it boosts a little more visibility and a little more engagement. And then, of course, always the main part when it comes to encouraging engagement is to
Mm.
actually reply to anything that
Right.
you get. So as soon as you can, don't keep them waiting. Reply to the comments, reply to the mentions, be active, and encourage your audience to interact with you as much as possible.
And I like the way that you organized your engaged dashboard. I didn't do mine that way. I think I did mine by
By platform?
form. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I prefer yours. So I'm definitely going to be
The
doing
ADHD.
that.
It's the ADHD. Trust me. It's
Now, the last question, and when I saw this one, I was like, oh yeah, I remember when there were platforms that did this, or
Mhm.
I vaguely remember this. Is there a way, because I know you have the RSS feeds, and that's obviously from content that we know, like I've added in the RSS feeds for places that I already get my blog posts and things like that from.
Mhm.
Is there a way, there used to be a way back in the day, I forgot what platform this was, where you could recommend places that, like, I don't know if the Copilot is designed to do this, where you could recommend places where the person could find and therefore curate
Uh-huh.
content that they would be able to share with their audience based on their niche, obviously.
There's a few ways in which you can do that. Most of those are integrations nowadays. You'll
Okay.
find them in the content menu.
Okay.
RSS is the most obvious one if you know the sources
Right.
already. If
Right.
you don't, there's things like Pocket, which essentially put the articles in your pocket
Right.
for later reading. This is an outside tool that integrates with SocialBee. So when you tag an article with, let's say, the curated label in Pocket, it automatically imports it into SocialBee. So that way, as you read, you can select the articles that come into SocialBee. There's also other tools like Q, which integrate with SocialBee, which can bring in daily doses of curated content on specific topics that you select.
Oh,
And
okay.
there's more advanced features like Zapier. So if you have other tools that find the content, you can then use Zapier to import them into
Oh, I
SocialBee.
like that.
And
Okay.
there's
Yeah, that's an
obviously there's
option.
also the browser extension, which basically if you're reading an article now, you can just pick it up with the browser extension and write it right there.
Right. Yeah, I've used that, but I was curious if there was something that automated the process for you where it could recommend based on your niche. We recommend these because I've done that manually.
Mm-hmm.
But I was
Yeah.
curious as to whether SocialBee
I
also.
don't think to that extent because it's
Yeah.
quite um I don't think it could be customized as much as everyone would prefer it.
Yeah.
But
Um,
there are ways. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the platforms I've used weren't necessarily like way back in the day, it was a social media management tool, but
Mhm.
recently it was an AI newsletter and
Mhm.
so platform. And so what they did is they just based on the information I provided, they would just sort of parse out all of the articles that were related to the topics or the niche that I identified. And
You
some of them were good and some of them were like, not that great.
you could
So.
do that with things like Google Alerts, maybe.
Right. Yeah.
So you can Google Alerts actually have RSS feeds, and you can.
Oh, okay. So you could set up the alert and then have okay. See, I didn't know that. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
Hmm. I actually see a question in the Q&A box, so I'm going to address it
Okay.
really quick. So there's organic reach is only 10% on Facebook. What's your strategy to reach all? Um,
Mm.
honestly, if you want me to be honest, there's no way you can reach all. For instance, Instagram CEO came forward and they actually mentioned that there's absolutely no way to reach all of your audience. There's no way to do that. And that's because algorithms nowadays are focused on feeding the audience, feeding each individual things based on their interest. So the more they interact with you, the more they will see your content. The more they look at your content, the more it will be provided to them or other people who are looking at similar content. But not all your content is identical and not all of your content is relevant for all of your audience. So there's no way to reach all. That's an ideal, forget about it. Reach as much as you possibly can within the benchmark and reach more new audiences to grow. That's what my take is on that. I wouldn't necessarily try to reach all of the existing audience. But if you want a strategy, my suggestion is to mix in content that's focused on retaining audiences. So make it interactive, make it interesting so that they keep coming back for more, and include content that's discoverable. For Instagram nowadays, that's Reels. For most platforms, it's some sort of video content. Work in some content that will expose you and your content to new audiences, and work on content that will retain those audiences. That's the strategy.
And another tip to add on to that, I actually learned this from a friend of mine who is really, really good at social media and in particular Facebook, which is a platform I have admittedly I'm not on or I don't frequent as often. And what she does is what she's realized is that when you don't see a lot of activity happening with your post on Facebook, it doesn't mean that people aren't seeing your content. It just means that they're not engaging with it.
Mm-hmm.
And what she does is she throws in things that have absolutely nothing to do with business. So she said she'd done this a couple of times. And one of the examples that she gave me was she loves avocado toast.
Mm.
And she decided she was tired of preparing it the same way that she normally was preparing it. So she took a photo of it, posted it on Facebook and said, does anybody have any ideas of how I can like, spice up my avocado toast? And she was explaining how she's like addicted to it. She has to have it every day at 11 o'clock, blah, blah, blah. And the post blew up. People that she didn't realize were actually getting her content in their feed and were seeing her content were all of a sudden commenting. So
That's the
try,
engagement factor. Yeah.
yeah. So try posting things that I guess are more personal and non-business related. I haven't tried that on there because again, like I said, I don't, I'm going to try to get back into Facebook. I'm certainly going to try that tactic, but I would try that because I don't believe, even though there are some platforms where you're going to get a lot of reach, I truly like Anko was saying, I don't think that there is any way to get 100%
Yeah.
because our audiences are so diverse and they want and need so many different things at different times that it's going to be almost impossible to get everybody to see your content. And chances are, in a lot of instances, they're scrolling past it. They're just not stopping and watching the video, or they're not stopping and reading that post and then commenting or liking it or doing anything like that. And it's not because they hate it, it's just because they're busy.
And it's too much content. There's a lot of content going out there. And think about it this way. If you're scrolling on social media and every single post from every single person you follow popped up, wouldn't you be overwhelmed a little
Yep.
bit?
Yep. Yep. I feel bad sometimes when I scroll past, oh, I haven't seen that person in a while, but I can't stop. And I feel bad. So I understand how it is for others. And I don't put as much effort, well, not effort. I don't put as much faith in, oh, I have to get a certain percentage of engagement from all of my content. It's just a matter of having that brand awareness because when people do comment, and I don't even think I post that often, but when people comment, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm always seeing your stuff.
Hmm.
But they're not necessarily commenting. I don't know that they're seeing it, but they tell me they're seeing it.
So they don't necessarily have to comment in
Right.
order to keep seeing it. They have to interact with it.
Right.
Interact with it might be as simple as playing a video,
Right. Right.
even in the YouTube link preview that you get.
Hmm.
So yeah, it could
Yeah.
be as simple as that. It could be as
Yeah.
simple as liking a post or viewing a story or things like that
Right.
that causes a chain reaction. And the
Mhm.
algorithm then decides, hey, this person is interested in this person's content. So here's more.
Right. Exactly. And that's how all platforms work.
Mhm.
YouTube is the same way. So
Yep.
I agree. Excellent. Well, that was all the questions that I had on my end.
That's all the questions that we have in the Q&A box.
Excellent.
Perfect. So I think that's all the questions that we have in that case. So I think this was a very productive session.
Yeah, I hope everyone found it interesting. I know a colleague of mine, Cindy, was on. I don't know if she still is. And she's had SocialBee for a really long time. And she commented she didn't know it could do all of this. So this was a good presentation for her, for anybody that's already have it, because there are just so many things that it can do. And I just wanted everyone to understand the full capacity of what it can do. And then also, if you weren't familiar with it, that perhaps you should be.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Edie, for
Oh,
joining us
you're
today. I
welcome.
was just reading the comments in the chat. Great session.
Uh,
I like the end discussion. Personally, I love discussions and debates
yeah.
a lot. So yeah, I do think that's something that we can do more often, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, thank you for co-hosting this with me. I just love bringing platforms and tools to the attention of my audience. And if I have the opportunity to bring you guys in, then I definitely want to be able to do that because I want them to learn and hear from the horse's mouth, if you will,
Mhm.
exactly how to use this and get the best out of it, not just listen to only what I have to say. So thank you so much for doing this with me.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure.
Thanks. Thank you guys for being here. And thank you for all of you who are on the replay. If you have any questions, definitely still reach out to all of us.
Yep.
We
By the
will
way,
answer those questions as much as possible.
By the way, if you do have questions on SocialBee, you can always reach out to us at hello@socialbee.com or me personally at anka@socialbee.com. Edie, if you want to share your email as well.
Yeah. If you have any questions, reach out to me at info@edieclark.com. And if you see this on YouTube, you can just tag me at virtually in sync. And I'll be glad to answer any questions you have.
Absolutely. So everyone, have a nice rest of your day, depending on where you are in the world, and we'll see you guys next time.
Yes. And have a good evening. All
Bye.
right. Take care. Bye.